Hello Warlords in general, welcome back to my channel. This is Tavhammer, and today we're going to be approaching a new subject for Age of Sigmar, and that is the covering of the Ogor Mawtribes origins and Mawpaths. And without further ado, let us begin. Ogres are humanoid beings that tower over most other mortals, both in height and in girth. This race is infamous for their hunger, often still being hungry even after devouring several pounds of meat and anything else they can devour, living, dead, plant, or even inanimate objects. Ogres, quote-unquote, organize their clans as Mawtribes, traveling on circular paths known as Mawpaths, growing wider and longer as they rampage and seek more and more food. These Ogor Mawtribes have been rampaging since the coming of the god King Sigmar and his returning of civilization to the realms, and even before that during the Age of Myth. Sigmar did make a feeble attempt to ally with them when he returned. However, with their immense predatory-like hunger, it did not go well. However, we're going to rewind a bit from the start of the Age of Sigmar and go back to the Age of Myth, back when Gorkamorka was still part of Sigmar's pantheon. Legends among ogre kind tell that green-skinned deity Gorkamorka, or as the ogres call him, the Gulping God, or the beast that devours the realms. They claim he started to eat the realms to try to satiate his hunger. Mountains, plains, rivers, none were safe from his hunger, and he ate them all in an attempt to satiate his hunger. The drool from this feast and his bites pooled, and from this primordial soup the first of ogre kind formed and came forth. Thus, this is the legend that the ogres believe the Mawtribes to be Gorkamorka's hunger made to sweep across the realms and eat all in the place of their god, to one day rejoin him once this task has been completed. During the Age of Myth, ogre kind fought for their god, who had joined Sigmar's pantheon, having fought each other to a standstill, which is what originally led Gorkamorka to start following Sigmar to begin with. During this time, the first of the ogres feasted upon monsters and abominations that came from the wilds rather than the cities of Order Sigmar had been building across the realms. This aggravated the ogres. Why could they not feast upon delicacies of human, elves, or dwarves? This is what they asked themselves. And the more you deny an ogre, the more they want it, until it becomes just a burning requirement for them to achieve. So when Gorkamorka eventually, and even predictably, left Sigmar's pantheon, he went on an aimless rampage throughout the realms. The ogres finally could indulge in their meats so long denied to them, shortly after chaos came to the realms. And during that age of chaos, the ogres ate very, very well. For now, they could fully realize their savagery and devour all, whether they be followers of chaos or refugees of the Sigmarites. Regardless, to the ogres, well, to put it lightly,
looks like meat's back on the menu, boy!
It was during these rampages that the thing that the ogres follow, known as Mawpaths, would be created. This is their, as I briefly mentioned, their migratory hunting paths to which they get all their food from. And the bigger the hold, the bigger the Maw tribe, the further the Mawpath goes, and the more of a rampage and the more food they need. So the bigger the Mawpath, the more successful the Maw tribe. Having such a great natural tenacity and this resilience, they have thrived during the Age of Chaos, and even rejoicing when Sigmar released his Stormcast Eternals, being ecstatic that they had a new exotic meat to devour. Ogres themselves are resilient and incredibly physically strong, being able to survive even the most dangerous environments within the realms. Once roused, very few things can stop a horde of ogres when they are rallied to war, becoming a tide of muscle, fat, war beasts, and crude weaponry. Even offering tribute or hiring the Mawtribes as mercenaries will not stay their rampages for long, for once they've eaten all they have around been offered, seeing them, they will turn on those who offer them homage to begin with, only seeing them as food for the Mawtribe. The Mawtribes are split by two distinct ogre clans, who are separated by their religious views on Gorkamorka the wild deity of destruction that loosely connects all the destruction factions together. For now, I will just briefly mention their aesthetic and just mention them here. I will later deep dive into both them and the named Mawtribes for each of them. For now, the two clans are known as Gutbusters and the Beast Claw Raiders. These two major clans will often clash for domination and not win on a rampage for food. Tyrants and Frostlords both use the civil wars to their advantage, however, for ogres are not above cannibalism, often making a surplus of meat. It is often considered a delicacy among leaders of the Mawtribes. Though these civil wars do not last long, and even if the relation between the two is not peaceful, the combined destructive force when they march to war is an amazing sight to behold, for the entirety of the realms becomes the feasting table for the Mawtribes as they stampede and shake the realms in their search for more food. At the start of every Mawpath, there are things known as glut holds, which is where the Mawtribes leave their collected food and plunder from their migratory paths upon the Mawpaths. Many were established during the Age of Myth, and most stand today, even after the God King releasing his lightning-forged warriors onto the realms. These holds are where the Mawtribes bring their cumulative harvest of a Mawpath to have the slaughtermasters and butchers take all the meat and throw it into a great Mawpot. This leads to a great feasting and celebration of the Gulping God, hoping for blessings of virility to make even more and stronger ogres for the next generations. It's during these massive and intense feasts that the butchers use this collection of meat and food to cut open a Terran reality. Opening a portal, this would allow the Mawtribes to go even further and onto new Mawpaths to tread upon, to gain more food for the next feast, which will gain them more power, more virility, more ogres, and become stronger as a Mawtribe in general. The nature of all this has changed with the coming of the cataclysmic event known as the Necroquake of Shyish. Most Mawpaths have become disrupted. Once fertile migratory paths are now barren and empty, though ogres can eat anything, even things such as wood, sand, dirt, and rocks. It is not enough to appease the gulping god's appetite. The butchers, grumbling at the lack of appetite has led to this, is stirring and attempting to read half-empty Mawpots, desperately sending smaller wargluts into areas known with enemy occupancy, hoping to atone via destruction. With the disruption to their migration paths, the ogres have put their marching into high gear, attacking cities of order and chaos bastions at rapid speeds. Even fellow destruction armies aren't safe when the Mawtribes get desperate enough. With Nagash powers growing and spreading, the ogres often come into frequent battle with the undead. Much to their annoyance, though they can eat the flesh of the undead, they prefer not to. Unfortunately for the most wargluts and Alfrothsons are surviving off of this meat alone. This act has drawn the attention of Nagash's elite, the Osiarch Bone Reapers, who serve as the great necromancer's hammer against those that would threaten his growing empire. This, however, has been giving them even more food because ogres can eat anything including bone. And that concludes the covering of the ogre's origins and the Mawpaths. Next time we'll be covering the wargluts, which are the gutbuster side of the ogre clans. Next after that, we'll be covering the Beastclaw Raiders, and then we'll be going over a quick review and lore of their units. My name has been Tabhammer. I hope you have enjoyed this covering briefly of the ogre's origins and Mawpaths. If you'd like to support the channel, please leave a like and subscribe. If you'd like to leave any criticism or just start a chat about ogre lore or anything I possibly missed about their origins, leave a comment. I hope you have a wonderful day, and happy wargaming.